Me at Tross Dog at Alatrosk. It's been a while. All I know, we haven't done this show specifically in about 2 weeks. We had the responsible bet last week. We've both been pretty busy. It's been hard to get together. But what a week to get back to it, man. I mean, so many upsets this week. So much news this past week. We'll go over it all, but just a crazy week.
Deadline week.
What you been up to?
Just cruising, man. I went to Spokane this weekend. I've been traveling a lot. Just having fun, busy though. Just busy.
Enjoying that Seahawks bye week, stress free.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. Great news for the Seahawks. I mean, might as well get right into it. I mean, we got Russ officially is fully cleared to play on Sunday against the Packers, which we'd love to hear. We weren't even sure if he was going to be, a game time decision, but a week early and he's already fully cleared. That's great news. Great news.
Oh, absolutely. I think the NFL audience would appreciate getting Russ back in there. I mean, they had to watch Geno Smith play 2 primetime games. I think it'll be good for everyone to get Russ back in there. I saw one post today that was like, I feel like I haven't watched Russ play in 70 years. I kind of feel that it's been so long, but it's only been 3 weeks. Excited to have him back. The plan is for him to start if nothing goes wrong. And couldn't be more happy as a Seahawks fan. And I think it'll, just as a neutral fan, I think there's a possibility the Seahawks can make the playoffs, and I think other wildcard teams should be on notice because the Seahawks have a great opportunity to slide in there with Russell Wilson coming back and everyone else falling apart.
Yeah, Vikings are 3-5. The Saints are 5-3, but they don't have a starting quarterback. The
Falcons look bad.
Yeah, but they've got some iffy wins against some bad teams, some bad losses too.
Panthers in there, 4-4, but they have Darnold.
They're terrible. They're just terrible. I don't know. The Seahawks have a great shot.
The Bears just lost tonight, 3-6 now.
Look terrible. I mean, the wild card is wide open right now, for sure.
It is wide open. So I think, it's something to discuss. The top of the NFC is stacked, and a lot of those teams lost, but still, it's like 2 different sides. We have the top of the NFC, and then we have the bottom of the NFC, which is just a bunch of like 3-5, 4-4 teams that are fighting for the wild card. Flip to the AFC.
Shout out Dwayne Eskridge too. Also practicing again this week.
Yeah, hopefully he plays.
Literally years since he's played. I swear to God.
And another thing that's been dropped around. So OBJ, as we all know, he divorced with the Cleveland Browns last week. He was just released today. He could be claimed off waivers by tomorrow. If not, he will be free to sign as a free agent. What are your thoughts on OBJ right now? What do you think he does? What do you think his abilities are still?
Now, I've been pretty against OBJ for a long time. But there's no denying that he's an uber talented receiver at his peak. Looking back at 2016, you could argue he's the best receiver in the league. Some of his stats, he took slants to the house consistently. He wasn't just a jump ball guy. And I got to think that in an offense that's so good at taking advantage of the deep threat, his number one destination, his preferred destination, the Seattle Seahawks, with also the highest claim out of the teams he was looking at. I don't know. I would be open to it for sure. I think Penny Hardin and Freddie Swain are playing a lot of snaps, and Odell Beckham Jr. surely is an upgrade on that. No matter how much of a diva he is, he's going to come in a little bit humbled. We've shown the ability to manage personalities in the past. I think it'd be great. I think Russ is probably the perfect guy to be partnered with Odell.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't feel like there's a reason not to sign him, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, if he gets claimed, only certain teams can claim him, so the Seahawks could be one of those teams that claim him. Any other the contenders really don't have space. It's really not possible. So let's say the Seahawks don't claim him. Then it's kind of in Odell's hands because I don't really see a team saying, sorry, we don't want you. It's more gonna be what does Odell want? And the Seahawks are a great situation, so I can see them not claiming him and still getting him. But if they don't, I think there is some risk if the Seahawks wanted him. And I think if he doesn't get claimed, I think it'll come down to Odell. I mean, even the Rams don't look like a bad option. It'll depend on I guess he'll sign for a small amount. But it'll be interesting to see, and I think that news will probably drop tomorrow because whoever wants Odell and whoever Odell wants to play for will probably want him to play this week, if anything. At least try to get some practice in. So let's move on to some other news. Aaron Rodgers, as we all know, he tested positive for COVID last week. He missed last week's game against the Chiefs. He had a very controversial interview. We don't need to talk about the efficacy of that interview or what he said or didn't say. But it's looking like he should return this week, this Saturday. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think? Do you have any thoughts on his decision to not get vaccinated? We obviously see the competitive disadvantage he put himself in. The Chiefs look bad. Packers easily win that game with Rodgers, and he basically said, "Nah, that's a loss."
I don't want to really get political here on the show.
Absolutely.
It was an hour long of quoting surveys. He clearly did do research about this topic, and I understand where he's coming from. But you're right. It definitely serves a competitive disadvantage to not get vaccinated. That's proven to be true. If he has any symptoms this week, he will not, and if it doesn't pass COVID protocols, he will not play against the Seahawks, which could still definitely happen. It's for sure a possibility. I doubt it will, just because the NFL probably wants Aaron Rodgers back, and I mean it's pretty easy to keep him out of trouble.
Yeah, so, and I just want to say quickly, I watched some of the interview, and that was last Friday, and he seemed like he was already looking pretty well. So
he didn't look.
He has another week from
great,
that date. Yeah, he has another week from that date to basically be symptom-free with the doctors and all the care and all the, IVs, whatever they could give him. I don't know. I think he'll be playing. I have my doubts. I feel like just the fact that he was able to give that interview makes me think it won't last, but we'll see.
Yeah. What's interesting for me about this week, we'll talk about the thing, but I think what's so peculiar is the MVP race this year is just absolutely wide open. It seems like dominoes keep falling. I mean, going into the week, the favorite was Matthew Stafford, who had two of the worst picks. And I don't think Matthew Stafford's played that well this year, but I think losing on Sunday Night Primetime against the Titans in the fashion that they did cannot be good for him.
Tanked his stock for sure.
Yeah, Derrick Henry obviously probably not going to play maybe this regular season again.
He's out.
Who else? Kyler Murray just missed a game.
Yeah, Kyler Murray might miss a few games. We was talking about it during the day. Dak and Josh Allen both played themselves out of contention. Yeah. But at this point, who favorited the most was Tom Brady by not playing. So I think he's actually the favorite right now, and I can't disagree with the way Dak and Josh and Matt Stafford absolutely just played awful. It's a big black mark on their resume.
What's interesting about this is that I think this first half of the season, because of the voter fatigue against Tom Brady, this first half of the season is almost going to be a wash with the MVP race. I think if
even Aaron Rodgers, I know MVP is kind of a popularity campaign, or definitely is, and that's a black mark on his resume for sure. Just the whole COVID thing, people are going to be less inclined to vote for him, is my feeling. So yeah, it's wide open. It's wide open.
I think even a player, if the Seahawks go, they go 8-1 in their last 9. I mean, why wouldn't Russ be MVP? Especially with how they played without him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's possible.
Looking at Justin Herbert, you thought he would be out of it at this point, but he's totally far in it. Lamar Jackson's still in it. I mean, there's guys that you thought would be out of it at this point, but that are not. And who can really count on Patrick Mahomes? I know the Chiefs look terrible offensively right now, but
I would be very surprised if Mahomes won it by this point.
It is a popularity contest, and
he's kind of tainted.
The most popular in the halls. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I feel like it's almost gone the other way where now people are like, yeah, he's so bad.
Yeah, true.
But I think this whole conversation is a reflection of the NFL right now. There's just so much parity. There's no one great team. You feel like the Cardinals could be there, but they've shown some weakness. But there's no like elite standard like the Chiefs have been the past few years, or the Niners in 2019, right? Like, there's no one team that really pops. There's just every team has been faltering. Even the Bucks lost to the Saints, who don't look good, just the week before. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. That's why we love the NFL. Anything else you want to talk about before we jump into getting over some of these games? And
yeah, I think we should just run through some of these games real fast.
Yeah, I mean, some of them don't deserve the limelight. The first game, obviously, Jets at Colts. The Jets obviously don't have their prospects aren't great this year. The Colts needed this game to stay alive in the playoff picture, and they won handily.
Nah, I mean, the Colts have really showed. Jonathan Taylor's been an absolute beast.
It's true.
Since about week 5, and Carson Wentz has played pretty well too. I think the Colts are serious playoff contenders.
Yeah, they're definitely playoff contenders. They have some issues. I think their defense got so soft. It still has a lot of injuries, but yeah, not much to draw from there. The Jets can't catch a break. Mike White injured after the first drive, after he looked like a decent quarterback. So let's move on. Browns at Bengals. Browns win this game 41-16 on the road. Kind of dominated. A few plays went the way of the Browns. The pick 6 to Denzel Ward, a bomb to Peoples-Jones in that long run. And from then on, the Browns are kind of just in control mode.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Browns have lost some games this year, but they've been really hurt. And I still think this is going to be one of the hardest teams to beat, trailing. And they proved that. Nick Chubb had a bounce-back game. He's been hurt for like the last 4 to 6 weeks pretty much, dealing with lingering injuries. They look good. OBJ didn't seem like they missed him at all. Donovan Peoples-Jones has been unreal this year, actually, if you look at his statistics. Elite efficiency, great big play percentage. And then the Bengals, I mean, what really happened? I mean, maybe the Bengals aren't a playoff contender at this point because, they lost back-to-back games. The Jets was a tough loss against back quarterback Mike White. And then this year, they just got stomped. And with the Steelers being 5-3, the Bengals or the Browns being 5-4, and the Ravens being 6-2, I think they're the last in their division, if I'm not wrong. And that sucks because I think 2 weeks ago they were the top of their division. And I don't know if they can make it as the last place in their division.
Yep, all true. Yeah, for me, the thing is, what I like to see from the Browns was good play from their secondary. I thought they played really well in the back end. They put a ton of capital in the secondary in the last couple of years. Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, Greg Newsome. They signed John Johnson. Just kind of trying to get that secondary play back in. And, it's kind of showed up. Troy Hill recently, which is good. The biggest question for me was always Baker for the Browns' long-term potential. And I think he played a really solid game, and we'll see at the end of the year what he's doing. But he's their cap. On the flip side, the Bengals, I tweeted this out. Burrow is a pick machine, man. Like, even if some of them might not be his fault, he's a pick machine. He's already thrown 11 picks through 9 games, which is leading the league. He's played well, but he needs to clean it up a little bit because a few of these games you could attribute directly to his interceptions.
Oh, I agree.
All right, moving on. We'll talk about one of the more surprising games of the weekend. The Broncos go on the road to beat the Cowboys, and this was a shellacking. It was 30-0 with about 6-7 minutes left. I don't know why Mike McCarthy left Dak Prescott in, but they managed to get 2 garbage time touchdowns, so they made it 30-16. But this thing was a blowout from start to finish. What is your main takeaways this week?
This was a pretty shocking result to me. I didn't want to bet on the game because I did see it was a little sketchy, a little trap game feely. But I'm surprised. Especially after the move they made with Von Miller. I thought they were throwing in the towel in the season almost. Why would you trade away Von Miller if you're going to make the playoffs this year? And then the Cowboys just kind of disappointed me from start to finish. The offense looked terrible. I think at one point, Dak, late in the fourth, he was about 33% completion percentage.
Less than 100 yards.
I mean, they missed every fourth down. And they just got ran all over, too. They won the battle at the line, and you rarely see that with the You really see that with the Cowboys on both sides. They've been winning the battle line. Dan Quinn's been, I think, he's made an instant impact on the Dallas defense. Trayvon Diggs got absolutely exposed. He looked terrible. Um, I think he's one of. I mean, there's definitely value in his ability to make plays, but I think the deep boy conversation's basically shut for him.
It's got to be shut.
I mean, unless he does exactly what he did at the start of the season, it's got to be shut. I agree.
And T.J. Watt just had 3 sacks, so.
Yeah, and Myles Garrett's an absolute behemoth of a man, so it's got to be one of those two guys. I don't know. I'm surprised Broncos might have a shot with the way the AFC West is playing out. It's so wild. Who knows? I was kind of out of them after they lost 3 or 4 straight.
Yeah, they lost 4 straight.
Yeah.
Traded away Von Miller, and you could basically have written them off at that point. And they go on, they scrape by a Washington team, and they smash the Cowboys. They're right back in it. I don't know what their long-term prospects, but if they can play solid D like they did against the Cowboys, then they could possibly sink in the playoffs. It also depends on Teddy Bridgewater, playing like a decent quarterback.
Yeah, and I think the Cowboys, it's probably a fluke game. You probably write this off. You just bounce back as a coach. Luckily, they're under no pressure in their division. I think the Eagles are 3-6. The Giants are also 3-6. And the football team didn't play this week, but I think they're like 3-6 as well, or 3-5. Yeah, it's just the Cowboys are gonna be fine. I wouldn't be too concerned. Whether they're as Super Bowl contending as we thought they were, I don't know. But this seems like a fluke game in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I mean their defense is definitely not as good as they were early on. They were very turnover reliant, and when they don't get turnovers, you see what happens. I think their offense, we just got to write it off, because if you start saying this offense is broken, then they're in for some real trouble. I will also mention that they were missing Tyron Smith this past week, and left tackle Terrence Steele gave something like 11 pressures. But still, it was ugly all around. There was drops by the receivers. Dak was missing people. Yeah, I think there's not much to take out of this one, except Denver, they gave themselves a chance, so it's always interesting. All right, next game. Texans at Dolphins. 1-7 versus 1-7. Dolphins managed to sneak this one away. I think the highlight of the game was, or low light, Tyrod Taylor, tries to throw it out of bounds and shovel passes it right to the defender sloppily. Yeah. I like Tyrod too, and that was what feels bad. But the Dolphins covered. That's all I got. They're a bad team.
Yeah, I did bad on the Dolphins -7. They did cover.
Oh, you got a -7?
Yeah.
Jeez, even after Brissett was put in there?
I bet it before.
Oh, God. I always stayed away from that one because I didn't want to touch either of those teams, but they did cover.
I bet -7. Bet Vikings +5.5. We'll get to that game. But yeah, I think this is kind of a throwaway game. Both these teams are going to be top 5 picks in the draft.
Unfortunately, not the Dolphins, but
not the Dolphins. They don't
someone will be picking them.
But
yeah, crazy.
You're right. Low light is going to be Tyrod Taylor, first game back in a while, 3 picks. But I think both these teams are going to struggle to make 5 wins.
Yeah, I'd say struggle to make 3 or 4. Maybe the Dolphins can pull it together a little bit. They've been pretty beat up. Just like their weapons.
Play the Jets twice a year, so.
Yeah, their weapons. Tua's missed like half the games. It'll be interesting to see how they finish, if they can put up anything of a fight. Next game, Falcons at Saints. So the Falcons are up 24-6. 8 minutes left.
We're gonna get some lock of the week rage here.
8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Oh no, was it even? Oh yeah, it's 24-6. 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I claimed 43. Under 43 was a lock. Under 41.5 was a lock. It felt like a lock. The Falcons were moving the ball really well, and they almost did the most Falcons thing. Gave 3 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes to both beat the under and lose the lead to make it 25-24 with a minute left. And then shout out Cordell Patterson bailing out the sorry Falcons. helping them to a field goal to win the game. But God, Falcons look so good and then somehow look so bad against Trevor Siemian. I think for me the surprising part was how well the Falcons moved the ball against the Saints without the Falcons without Calvin Ridley. I mean, the Saints have dominated teams on defense. Yeah, Matt Ryan threw for 343 yards, and they had a decent amount of yards on the ground.
Yeah, I think they're the second best team against tight ends, and Kyle Pitts was just unaffected. A lot of people saying bench Kyle Pitts in fantasy this week. Clearly, that was not on the move. But what do I have to say about this game is don't trust the lock of the week, guys. It's not very much of a lock. I also bet over 41.5 this week on the Falcons Saints. I did not trust the lock.
Trust the lock, dude. Trust the lock.
And paid me in the right direction. Young Oku, game-winning 29-yard field goal. Falcons are 4-4. Saints 5-3. We already talked about the playoff perspective on that. I'd actually say the Falcons have a higher chance to make the playoffs than the Saints, just because of Trevor Siemian. But both teams I wouldn't be too concerned about to make runs. Both teams would be lucky to make playoffs.
Yeah, the Falcons. I mean, the Saints just seem so much more limited with Siemian. He didn't even play that bad, but I just don't see I don't even see the point, right? Like, you're going to go into the playoffs with Trevor Siemian and Traquan Smith and Deontay Harris as your offensive weapons. Like, you're not beating a single team. So, what is even the point? Not to mention, I don't know what you can do. I think they're going to drop games, and they might be able to sneak in just because Sean Payton's a good coach and they could steal some with their defense. But I really don't see how the Saints are any bit of a threat. And the Falcons, it's kind of the same story, right? They just have too many flaws. They have too many flaws.
Terrible offensive line. Still one of the worst in the league.
Defensive line is terrible. They have no pass rush. Matt Ryan has been playing pretty lights out. Cordell Patterson's playing pretty lights out. I think that's the sole reason they've won some games.
AJ Terrell played pretty well, but
AJ Terrell actually has been really solid. You get a shout out to him, a young corner that's been performing. But I don't know, man. You're right. I don't think out of these teams, I think one of them, just by default at the bottom of the NFC not being great, is going to make it. I couldn't tell you which one. But, I mean, if you think about it, if neither of these teams make it, then it's going to be, the Vikings, who have a brutal schedule, the Seahawks, or the Seahawks and the Bears. We just saw the Bears. Oh yeah, see, there's just no one else.
Honestly, right now, I put money on the Seahawks making the playoffs, just because of how the back end of their schedule is pretty decent, and the state of the NFC right now is really weak. And they looked but all the games they lost, the defense showed up in the last games. I'm sorry I'm turning this back on the Seahawks, but they struggled playing defense with Russ, and suddenly they come back and now they don't want to play defense. I don't know why that happens, but I mean, they held the Saints at 13 points. Probably could have been lower than that. They held the Jaguars to 7 when probably should have been a shutout. And what was the Steelers game? I think they played a great defensive game against the Steelers, in the second half. So
yeah,
it's really
we
tough.
should look at the odds for that. Maybe we'll bring it up on the Thursday show.
The responsible bet, yeah, sure. So on to the next game. Another interesting game. 5-4 Patriots now. The 4-5 Panthers. Stephon Gilmore revenge game. You got to pick.
You did have a pick. It was a nice pick.
They did get smacked. This game wasn't very close. Mac Jones and Sam Darnold, probably, I'd say, the combined worst quarterback performances of the weekend. That includes Jacoby Brissett and Tyrod Taylor.
Ooh, that's tough, dude.
I mean, Sam Darnold is probably good enough to.
Josh Allen played really bad.
I mean, he didn't play as bad as.
Ooh, dude, he played bad.
Sam Darnold is terrible.
Okay, yeah, Darnold was single-handedly the worst, but
Mac Jones didn't play great either.
You're right, fine. Okay, but also Jordan Love and Patrick Mahomes, they played real bad.
That was bad.
Even Stafford, Tannehill did not play well. Their defense scored all their poinks. Tannehill threw a pick and had 150 yards passing. And Stafford was atrocious. He had some garbage time. But
going back, I think looking at the Patriots' schedule, looking at their current state of their roster, I'd say the Patriots are a playoff team right now. They're 5-4.
They're a half game out of winning the division.
Yeah, the AFC West is beating each other up. The AFC North is also beating each other up. The wild card's gonna be open. They're gonna have teams. They're gonna still play the Dolphins. They're still gonna play the Jets. Those are good, easy wins that they can knock up. Honestly, I'm the Patriots are a playoff team this year.
Yeah, it's so hard to get a read on them because so they've taken care of the bad teams and the Chargers, right? Okay, so they beat the Jets twice. They beat the Dolphins, and then they beat the Chargers last week on almost a game-winning field goal. And they crushed the Panthers, but the Panthers are 1-4 in their last 5 games, and it looks like they might just tumble out of any sort of contention. So then, really, the Patriots have one good win. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they. Yeah, I will say,
but they got two great close losses against the Bucs on Sunday night and the Cowboys in overtime.
Yeah, it's hard
they
for me
also
to.
Have a
That
loss
Bucs
the Dolphins
loss was in the rain, but
true.
The Patriots. Okay, here's what I'll say: the Patriots are a serious playoff contender, but I don't think they're a serious contender for anything past that. And it's just because there's so much parity in the AFC. There's 11 teams at 500 or over.
Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Vikings Ravens, last game of the early window. Great game. You saw the Ravens come back to win this. 2 times they were down by 14. Once in the third and once in the first half and the second half. Lamar Jackson, pretty iffy game.
He was inconsistent for sure.
He was inconsistent for sure. A lot of fluky plays in this game, both ways. 4th and 9. You kind of saw that the Vikings. You kind of thought the Vikings were going to win after that Anthony Barr interception. Another fluky play, but Mike Zimmer. A lot of people are calling for his head right now. Had some bad calls on offense. Had some bad defensive calls. This was a tough game to gauge. This is a third overtime game for the Ravens. A ridiculously large amount of them of their games have been one-score games. They're 6-2 though. I think they're currently second in the AFC behind the Titans. Same record though. But
the Titans are 7-2 actually.
Oh, okay. The Titans haven't had their bye week yet, but half game back. I don't know about the Ravens. I'm still very. They are playing. They remind me of the Seahawks. That's what they do.
Yeah, the Seahawks when they're winning. Yeah, I'm really not sold on the Ravens, but just looking across the league, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but there's not a standout team, right? So, I mean, the Titans are obviously the best in the AFC. Even then, they don't look so dominant.
I mean, I don't know.
But the Ravens, at this point, it's you got to find a way to win, right? Because it seems like everyone is somehow not. You got to – finding a way to win or winning the game just feels like the most important thing at this point just because there's so much parity.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a great game, though. I will hammer it home till I die. Adam Thielen is as good as Justin Jefferson. I'm tired of hearing people say he's not.
And Lamar Jackson is only as good as probably Kirk Cousins, too.
With the condition that Kirk Cousins right now is a top 10 quarterback in the league, yes, I agree.
I want to see Lamar Jackson. Actually, I don't want to say that. I'm expecting Lamar Jackson to trip up in the playoffs. All right, let's move on then. Okay, did you we skipped one game, I think, the Bills Jaguars. I think that was early slate.
I'm not sure if it was early, but yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so this is the other massive surprise of the week. Bills lose to the Jaguars, the sorry Jaguars, 6-9. I talked about this in the responsible bet, but I thought the Jaguars weren't as bad as everyone said. Then I went to the Seahawks' first Jaguars live. I saw how bad the Jaguars were. I saw Geno Smith tear them up. I saw coaching mistakes. They had 12 men on the field, back-to-back plays on defense. I thought the Jags are terrible. And then they go in and not destroy the Bills. I mean, they missed 2 field goals, so that it could have been 15-6. I mean, I don't know what to say. The Bills just flopped. Josh Allen has not played well back-to-back weeks. They managed to – I mean, the same thing happened with the Dolphins, right? It was 3-3 for 3.5 quarters. But the Jaguars actually held on this week. Well, are we concerned about the Bills?
I don't know. I mean, that's, 2 losses on the bounce? And they had the bye in between their loss against the Titans. I don't know. People are talking about the Bills being the best team in the league, and this is far from the best team in the league quality. Putting up 6 points against a very sorry, very, very sorry Jaguars defense. I don't know. It's kind of shocking. This is definitely
extremely
shocking result. Shout out Josh Allen. I'm talking about the better Josh Allen.
Oh my God! I couldn't.
First round pick.
I love
top
that.
10 pick, Josh Allen.
I love Josh Allen. Eating up Josh Allen, dude.
I mean, what was it? A fumble recovery on Josh Allen, a sack on Josh Allen, a tackle on Josh Allen, an interception on Josh Allen.
Yep.
That's classic. That's classic.
Dude, Josh Allen is legit. And the other Josh Allen, I still have question marks about. As I mentioned last year, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have a lot to prove in my eyes.
I think I agree with you. To some extent. I think I agree he's got something to prove to be a, MVP caliber quarterback. But I think there's no question that even Josh Allen, just you see some of the throws he makes. I mean, he's clearly a top half quarterback. He's clearly a franchise quarterback. Clearly deserves an extension. I feel that way about both Lamar and Josh Allen in the same way that maybe they're not MVP guys, but they're definitely franchise guys like Phillip Rivers. I don't know.
Yeah, they're franchise guys. I'll say that. I can't see either of these guys carrying their team to a Super Bowl. They just seem to make too many mistakes in too many key moments. And, that's just my take. I could be proven wrong, but so far it's only been proven right.
I think it's a disrespect to Russell Wilson a lot of the time when they say that, Russell Wilson drags his team. I think we've seen it. I hope this is proved to everybody about the Seahawks. I'm sorry I keep bringing the Seahawks up, but I think this is proved to everybody that the Seahawks are not good without Russell Wilson. I think finally Pete Carroll maybe understands that too. We didn't talk about it because we haven't been on the pod for 2 weeks, but that quote that he said, I think it was after the Saints loss, about whether the Seahawks missed Russell Wilson. He said, I'm going to misquote him here, not directly, but the gist of it was he said that, I've been here a long time. If Russ wasn't here, I wouldn't have been here a long time. And he's completely right. And looking at a guy like Josh Allen and Russell Wilson, or Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, I don't think they've proved that they can do that with bad rosters. Because I think both supporting casts on both teams are better than the Seahawks roster has been in the last 5 years.
Completely agree there. And, yeah, Pete Carroll's right. We didn't talk about that, but I think people had the wrong take on it. I don't think Russell Wilson has necessarily, carried Pete on his back. I think Pete has done a great job. It's just like having a good quarterback is the only thing that keeps you employed in this league. Like, look at all the coaches that have gotten fired. They all had bad quarterbacks. There's not a single coach that's gotten fired that had a legit franchise quarterback.
I think the one example of that is Mike McCarthy, and that's why it was probably one of the most shocking firings.
Fair enough. I guess, okay.
7 years of average play that finally got him.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say even that because they went to the NFC Championship in 2015.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that one was kind of influenced by Aaron necessarily, but like I said, like coaches are crowned so quickly if they have a good quarterback, and they're torn down so quickly if they have a bad one, right? Yeah. So if Pete Carroll, maybe he didn't get Russell Wilson, but maybe got someone else that was, at least average. I mean, I think an average quarterback wins those games against the Steelers and the Saints. Geno Smith is not average. So it's like, oh, look, Russell Wilson is carrying this team. Well, actually, Pete almost won those games with a replacement quarterback, not like a average quarterback. You put who's an average quarterback? Baker?
Kirk.
I think Kirk's better than Baker right now. But you put either Kirk or Baker on those teams, they're winning those games, probably by more than a touchdown. Yeah, so I just hate the argument. Geno Smith is not good. So, okay, what is the next game?
The next game is going to be another shock. Raiders Giants. Obviously the big news of the Raiders. Um, Henry Ruggs. I don't know if you really want to talk about it that much, but definitely, the DUI arrests in murder, resulting in murder. 154 and a 30. He was driving with a woman and her dog, and they both perished in the crash. Henry Ruggs didn't sustain any major injuries. I think the video was released today of him on the sidewalk after pretty. It's just a little scary stuff. You never want to see that for anybody. You feel a little bit for Henry Ruggs, but at the same time, his career's over, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
And this Derek Carr obviously talks about it. I imagine it was a big deal in the Raiders locker room this week. Maybe it had an effect on the loss, but Derek Carr probably played his worst game of the year, I'd say. The Giants came out. They gave a lot of aggressive looks. Obviously missing a lot of guys on offense, but they scratched away with the win. Strip sack, a couple picks. The defense has been pretty feisty since Joe Judge has been the coach, and it paid off for them this week.
Yeah, I think you said all that well. Their defense is impressive. They're spunky. They play well. They definitely give quarterbacks some fits sometimes. Yeah, we could say like it was definitely an upset, which it was. But I wonder how much it weighed in with all that Ruggs drama. David Arnett has now been released too, so he didn't play. Not to mention that was Gruden like the week before.
I mean, imagine we could still, if Henry Ruggs didn't have it, we'd still be talking about Gruden had an effect in this game. But
so there's a lot going on in there, and they went on the road. The Giants haven't really looked that bad this year. All things considered, they had a lot of close losses. I mean, the Raiders are still in contention. They can still get things back together.
They'll sign Deshaun Jackson, I think, this morning, too.
Which is like
obviously he's a Henry Ruggs replacement.
Comparable player, yep.
Yeah.
So the Raiders, I think, are still actually leading the AFC West, I believe, because they have 5-3.
I think all other teams are 5-4.
So it's not over for them. This is definitely a letdown spot. Giants, I mean, they're technically still playoff contenders, although I have no faith in Joe Judge and Daniel Jones, or mostly Daniel Jones. Both their decision-making is just questionable.
Yeah. I agree. I think the Raiders obviously still fighting for a playoff spot. You're going to have to see a little bit more. I do think there's a lot of circumstances surrounding the Raiders that probably changed the outcome of this game, maybe. So we'll see. The divisional matchups will really show both these teams' true colors.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on. Close game, one of the better games of the week. Chargers, Eagles, they kind of just went back and forth. Keenan Allen looks like he's coming back in as the wide receiver one. People thought Mike Williams was for a little bit. Herbert played an okay game. Wasn't like the games he was playing earlier in the year, but definitely back on track since the last game against the Patriots, where he struggled. The Eagles continuously staying competitive in these games.
Yeah.
They're similar to the Giants. I think Hurts is still proved that he's got another year in him at least. Maybe you take a shot on Matt Corral or Carson Strong in the second round if they fall, but I'd stick with Hurts for now. Especially with, like I said, the lack of top quarterback prospects in the draft this year. We'll get to draft talk later, but the Eagles I think are probably Eagles, Giants, and football team are mostly out of contention just because their wins are mostly against each other and they've been pretty fluky. They haven't showed consistent ability to score. They're kind of in rebuilding mode, all three of these teams. So that's what I have to say about that. And the Chargers, I mean, it's a key win. You lose this game, you fall back, you go 4-4. The wild card in the AFC looks like a tough place to be with how good the AFC North is, with how the Colts are coming back into stride, the Patriots. And they're going to have some easy games. The Colts and Patriots are going to have some easy games the rest of their year because of how weak their division is. So I think it's a crucial win for the Chargers. I'm not sure if I'm that confident in them making the playoffs right now. They just seem to be throwing games. They're hyper aggressive on offense with the play calling, hyper aggressive on defense, and it costs them some games and wins them other games. They're a really volatile team for me.
Yeah, the Chargers look 1 year out from being serious contenders to me. I think they need to shore up things on their D-line and O-line. Play calling, play decisions are aggressive, but I think their play calling hasn't been great. The Eagles, I don't know what they're doing, man. They fight. They don't give up any big plays. That's kind of been their thing, but they literally just let everything underneath be completed. All right, the Herbert's threw for 32 for 38. I think Derek Carr had like 4 incompletions last week or whatever it was 2 weeks ago. They're just too soft and vanilla on defense. I think they could have stole a few more games, maybe 1 or 2, if they just played a little better. Hurts, yeah, jury's still out. Devonta Smith, however, looked really excellent.
Yeah, he did.
He finally looks like, the wide receiver one that Eagles haven't had in years. I don't even who was Deshaun Jackson was probably their last legit wide receiver.
Jeffrey.
For that 1 year. He wasn't even
a couple of years. I mean, he was a Pro Bowler, kind of.
He was that 1 year with 2017 with Wentz.
Yeah, but even then it was like Zach Ertz.
Yeah. They haven't, yeah.
My head goes far back as like Jeremy Maclin.
Dude, he was not a wide receiver one.
Yeah, I don't know. Jeremy Macklin's pretty saucy. Shout out Jeremy Maclin.
They've had some pretty solid wide receiver twos, but I think Devonta Smith might be like the best wide receiver they've had since Deshaun Jackson, and it's primo, which is good. I mean, they spent a 6th overall pick, or what is it, 10th overall pick?
Yeah. Shout out Jerry Slay too. He's having a great year as a corner.
He actually got hurt. Hopefully he gets back because he's pretty important to their vanilla defense.
I also think, talking about the Henry Ruggs situation, the Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs picture, it's going to probably go down as, capture moments before disaster.
What picture is that?
The one where, it was already a famous sports picture. I think it'll probably be famous for years. It's the one where you have the top, it's him doing the crossover dunk. They do and then they have the Eagles Raiders jersey.
Handshake, yeah.
Yeah, their handshake. It's just sad.
Sad.
And moving on, I assume you're pretty good with that game. Probably, most weeks you would say this is the game of the week, circle it, but Aaron Rodgers out, Chiefs, just the way they look this year, it was really boring. It was probably the most boring game of the week for me. That includes 6-9 Jaguars-Bills, just because I loved watching Josh Allen play against Josh Allen. But Jordan Love is a head-scratcher of a pick. That's my result of this game. Not talking about the Chiefs right now. Just I don't understand. You take a huge risk. You're a competitive team in the NFL. You have Aaron Rodgers. And you take Jordan Love in the first round when you could totally use that on a player that could be helpful. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's puzzling to me still. Even if Jordan Love was good, it's still puzzling.
We could talk about the pick. It was a bad pick when it was made, but I don't want to write off Jordan Love yet. I thought he looks bad.
I'm not even writing him off. I still think even if he's
good in 2 years, I feel like it's a great pick. Or not a great pick, but it's defensible. It's like the same thing they did with Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think anyone regrets that.
But you could argue that if they had a guy that could have made the difference,
100%, 100%,
could have already won the Super Bowl.
But it's all hypothetical.
It is, but it was a close NFC Championship game. Other things to say: the Chiefs' offense looks like the formulas they figured it out or something. Patrick Mahomes was like minus 200, like minus 300 throw pick this game or something like that. Which is just like, wow, what a fall from grace, huh? Terrible quarterback. Hate him.
I think the whole offense is broken. Mahomes has been bad. He's just been outright bad. People were saying, if the Chiefs didn't turn over the ball, they'd be so much better, right? Like their offense would be fine, and they didn't turn over the ball, and they did not look good.
Yeah, I agree. I still think this defense sucks. The Chiefs' defense sucks. I don't know. I mean, Daniel Sorensen's probably the worst starter in the league. I think that might be. he might be in the conversation for sure. Probably one of the worst tackle attempts in Alan Lazard I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's bad.
But
it worked out nice because they got Jordan Love and they just blitzed. I think they blitzed him like 22 times. And Love just did not know how to handle the blitz. Like, he never knew where to go. The whole line didn't play well, actually. They played well recently, but I thought they actually did give up kind of a lot of pressures. But he does not. He looked lost in the blitz, and they just blitzed him every time. And when you can blitz every time, you don't even need to have good players in the back end. So
fair enough.
I think their defense is still bad, but they got a break here. I mean, how much do the Packers win by if Rodgers is playing? 2 or 3
20.
Touchdowns?
2 or 3, yeah, probably.
But the way the Chiefs played, didn't even look close. Like, Mahomes is missing guys left and right, man.
Yeah. I think that's all I gotta say about the game. Probably both teams still definitely in playoff hunt. I don't know about the Chiefs. They're a tough division, but it looks like with the Vikings loss and the Bears loss, Packers are running away with this division.
Yep. I will say the Chiefs, one thing to say is no team has really pulled away, so the door's still open for them to, even in the AFC West, right? The door's still open for them to like take over, which is a blessing because of how bad they've been playing.
What is interesting about this game actually for the Chiefs is not something that's great. They're 4-0 against the NFC this year, 1-4 against AFC teams, which definitely could come in handy against a tiebreaker.
That's surprising. So. That's not good. Yeah. Oh, they could still steal the division, which is,
yeah.
I mean, they
definitely
could easily win the division actually. So they play the Raiders on Sunday Night Football. If they win that, which I definitely don't want to bet on, I'd probably take the Raiders. But if they win, they're first place, I believe.
Yeah, they're half game back from the Raiders currently. So, moving on. Another shocking result, I would say. What's interesting about this game is the 3-4 Niners came in as favorites against the 7-1 Cardinals. That was due to DeAndre Hopkins being out, Kyler Murray being ruled out, George Kittle playing. So you would think I almost bet on this game as a Niners money line. Thank God I didn't, because wow, the Cardinals just murdered. I mean, they dominated the 49ers offensive line. Michael Glinchey's going to be out for the year, I think. Marcus Golden looks legit right now. Even without J.J. Watt, they look dominant. I mean, Chandler Jones clearly makes a huge difference just as a player on that team. Clearly missed him last year. I thought this team was Kyler ride or die, which is one of the reasons I've always been sketchy about them in the power rankings. I haven't believed because I thought he was going to go down eventually. He did go down. And suddenly James Conner's the best player in the league. I just don't understand. I'm really shocked by this game.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they also down DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Down
AJ Green.
J.J. Watt, obviously. J.J. Green.
Chase Edmonds went down in the first quarter. It was really surprising.
And let's not over exaggerate too much. The Niners did move the ball pretty well. If you actually watch the game, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't play terrible. He had that late pick, but by then the game was over. It was just the 2 fumbles they had. Kittle fumble, Ayuk fumble, both in Cardinals territory, so sloppy. But the real story to me is how bad their defense got smoked by Colt McCoy, James Conner. You called it. Like, they were missing tackles. They were getting run over. Kirkpatrick just gets trucked. It was bad. I mean, we got to talk about Kyle Shanahan. Is he on the hot seat?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he still has Trey Lance, so he's probably
People
fine.
have been giving Kyle Shanahan the benefit of the doubt, but he's 32-39 as a head coach. His only winning record with a quarterback is with Jimmy Garoppolo. And he's only made the playoffs once, I think, in his tenure. It's hard to support. It's hard to look at the numbers and not say it that Kyle Shanahan maybe needs to be reevaluated as a coach, because obviously people think he's an offensive genius. I mean, you look at someone like Matt LaFleur. This is a bad example to say this, but Matt LaFleur's got a way better record, similar style offense. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers is there, but why when we talk about Matt LaFleur with the benefit of the doubt that we give Kyle Shanahan? Like I said, bad example, bad timing, because he obviously just put up 7 points from Jordan Love. But you see what I'm saying? It's just like Why is Kyle Shanahan the benefit of the doubt over some of these other guys?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think Kyle Shanahan does a lot of good things, but God, I mean, he just doesn't have anything to show for it, right? Like, the wins aren't there. It feels like he's made a lot of bad decisions with players, player management. Like, they traded up for Trey Sermon. He hasn't played a snap. Javon Kinlaw wasn't good last year. Hasn't played this year. Brandon Ayuk. I mean, we didn't even talk about Brandon Ayuk. He was their first-round pick, or both of those guys. And, he finally did something today. But prior to today, man, he's been so quiet. Oh, you know what I'd like to see, though? I'd like to see, after this year, Kyle Shanahan fired. Shane Waldron fired. Kyle Shanahan hired by the Seattle Seahawks. Give him a year under Pete and Russ. Pete retires off the Super Bowl win. Kyle Shanahan takes over, and we'll give him a clean slate because he has a good quarterback.
I love the theoretical. I think that means it's time to move on.
Absolutely.
Titans Rams. So I told you about my betting earlier. I told you I had plus 5.5 on a parlay, -7 on a parlay with the Dolphins, plus 5.5 with the Vikings. I had the over on the Falcons Saints. I had the over on the Bears Steelers, but I lost because I bet -365 Rams money line. That was 10 to win 205.
No way. Dude, the Titans have been free money the past 4 weeks. If you just listen to the responsible bet, put some respect. The Titans were getting. I get you put Rams money line, but the Titans are getting 7.5. So you were already not getting great odds.
I know.
7.5 was.
If I took it out, I still was winning 180.
7.5 is just disrespectful. Like, God, I mean, the
Some
Titans have
of the
been
plays Matthew
disrespected.
Stafford made were just so questionable. I mean, I saw the memes going around. You can take Matthew Stafford out of the Lions. You can't take the Lions out of Matthew Stafford. That throw, the end zone angle of that throw that he made, a little twisty throw to the defender. What are you doing? The late out route. What are you doing, Matthew Stafford? What are you doing?
Yeah, I agree, dude. He is getting a little exposed. I mean, he has made some mistakes.
Man. He's been making terrible throws this whole year.
Okay, fair enough, but they did shellac the Texans the week, and then they did shellac another team before that. But, oh, God, yeah, they are. All right, I mean, what an interesting game. First of all, let's talk about the Titans. They have so many. It looks like they have so many flaws on paper. Ryan Tannehill has been very consistent, albeit efficient but inconsistent. O-line injuries. They started Bobby Hart. Their secondary is beat up, but they're winning games, and that's all that matters. As we talked about, they're winning games, and they straight up dominated the Rams defensively. Just makes you think, man. It just makes you think. On the flip side, the Rams, Stafford's a little exposed, but I thought their defense, which I've been a little low on, played really well. Like, they gave up less than 200 yards to Tanny. Adrian Peterson didn't do anything. They got a pick. They really didn't give up that much, right? When you think about it, the Titans got 2 touchdowns, basically for free. Off of turnovers. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. I think both these teams are going to be contenders. Yeah. I think we can officially say the Titans are Super Bowl contenders, just with the way the AFC has kind of fallen apart and the way the Titans have played.
If Derrick Henry comes back in the playoffs, definitely.
Yeah, who can really take on? Actually, I don't even want to say that because I feel like any of the top AFC teams could beat the Titans.
The Bills, I also think, are just such a weird team right now. Some weeks they're like so dominant, some weeks I don't know. I mean, even the Titans game, I say they win that 9 times out of 10.
The Bills yeah, that's what I want to say too. But it's just like, God, they did it. You know what I mean? They did not.
They didn't. You're right.
I don't know about 9 out of 10. That's a little eager because like the Bills.
I mean,
just stumbled
touchdown
last
slips
week.
and like QB sneak. You know, like
Are we talking about 9 out of 10 times they win that game in that situation, or 9 out of 10 games?
I think 9 out of 10 times they win that game. In that situation, I still think that they would win the game more often than not.
Okay, so you think
From the
the
start.
Bills neutral field? You're taking the Bills.
Probably. Yeah.
I wonder what the Titans got to do, to be honest.
Get healthy. That's what they got to do. They got to get healthy. They got to start playing more consistent. They got to stop. I mean, it seems like teams are making mistakes for them. The Colts game could have easily gone bad. And they won that game in OT or something like that, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know. They did. There was a reason the spread was plus 7.5, and I honestly was thinking about betting on the Rams with the spread.
I mean, you're not the only one. A lot of people didn't even give the Titans a chance. I mean, look at the market; it's 7.5.
But yeah, I think both these teams are going to make the playoffs for sure. Rams. This is obviously a big game. They're now a game back from the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But that's going to come down to their game. Honestly, I think no matter how it turns out, it's going to come down to the Cardinals-Rams game later in the year. The Titans, I think they're still this especially was a huge game that's going to stretch them away from the Colts even more, especially since they already have that win against them.
Yeah.
I think they're going to walk away with that division.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts basically have no chance to come back in that division. I wouldn't say no chance, but they need to heavily outperform the Titans. They're 3 games back with the tiebreakers going to the Titans. So,
yeah.
the Titans' schedule is actually extremely easy. Forgot to mention they just played the gauntlet. Now they play I believe they play the Texans twice. I think they play the Jaguars. They already played them once. They did, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so they played the Texans twice, Jaguars once. So, I mean, that's Texans twice, Jaguars once. That's 3 wins.
That's 10 wins right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts would have to win 7.
Yeah.
They'd have to win 11 at least,
7,
and have the Titans not win a single one.
Yeah.
So it'll be tough.
Yeah, moving on, though. What a Monday night game.
What a game.
Justin Fields, Ben Roethlisberger, Monday night. How the Steelers keep getting primetime games, I don't know. They're so disgusting to watch. Some questionable plays from both teams. Penalties were flying everywhere. Robert Quinn couldn't stay on sides. The Cassius Marsh-Taunton call is probably going to be talked about for the rest of the week. Shout out Cassius Marsh. What team has he not played for in the NFL?
Yep.
Cam Hayward, monster game. TJ Watt, monster game. Cam Hayward obviously had that encroachment, but I think, God, he's so good. He really is so good. Watching Cameron Hayward play, have you seen him? Dude?
I mean, he had that pick, too.
Yeah. And how many pass deflections does he get? He just bullies offensive linemen. Jermaine Fetty is a huge man. Cameron Hayward tosses him like a little girl.
Well, to be fair, a lot of people toss Jermaine Fetty like a little girl.
This is true.
He has a history of that.
But Cameron Hayward's a monster. I would honestly – I know TJ Watt's got the numbers, and he's probably way better at deep boy, but I think Cameron Hayward's been a better player than TJ Watt this year. That doesn't excuse the fact that I think both of them have been top 5 players in the NFL in their position for sure. Probably they're both the best player in their position. Myles Garrett, TJ Watt are kind of toss-ups, but
yeah,
there's no doubt in my mind Cameron Hayward's the best interior defensive lineman in the league right now. Oh, God, he's so good. I can talk about Cameron Hayward for the rest of the show, but
I mean, to me, it was a tight game, but dude, both these teams just don't feel like
they're really ugly.
They just both feel bad, man. Like they don't look good. It's ugly to watch. The Steelers have managed to put together some wins, but they aren't convincing me they're really any sort of contender. They even slopped that one up. And
I think Ben looked ugly again today.
I think I will say, Fields did finally make some plays. I've been worried about him.
His ball is pretty. There was that seam throw on a double move with Jimmy Graham and a cover one look. That was a nice throw. That was an absolute on a rope. Yeah,
I'll say he's made some nice throws, which is good because I was losing hope, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've watched a few of his games, and he just looks a little lost, not making the right calls, not making the right throws, just getting whacked for no reason. But it was encouraging to see him make some nice throws today. I think that's what you can hope for the Bears, because that loss to me seals it. Not technically, but I just don't know. Like, I don't think he's ready this year to make a push, and their defense, although solid. I mean, I know they're injured, but you can't be giving up 29 points to the Steelers.
Yeah.
So.
I think three quarter of them, they've had some unlucky.
I mean, dude, those refs were bad. Did you see it? Would you see? I didn't see it live, but I saw Cam Chancellor tweeted it. Tony Correnti calling that flag on Cassius Marsh.
Oh,
did you see that?
I did watch the game live. So basically, what happened was Cassius Marsh was about 30 yards away from the sideline. He kind of just stared at the Bears sideline, walked like 2 steps in front, then walked a little bit back. And they called it taunting. He didn't put his hands. He didn't say a word, but they called a taunting penalty on him.
No. It was different.
You're talking about the little bump.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little taken out of context. Tony Correnti does hit him a little bit, and then he pulls the flag, but you can see him already reaching for it. Also.
Oh, what was the context? Because I only saw the video.
So, no, it's exactly what happened. So, Cassius Marsh walks up to the Ravens, or the Bears sideline, kind of. He's about 30 yards away. He's just talking a little bit. I mean, it was a big third down sack. He slides back. He's walking backwards. Tony Correnti walks into him a little bit, and then he pulls for the flag, throws it out.
Oh, I see. So he was already going to call the taunting.
He was already calling it
on
Cassius Marsh. And you can know this because if he was calling the fact that he hit him, the call would have been unsportsmanlike conduct and not taunting. And I think they're going to all blow it out of the proportion. Cam Chancellor says
that's going to get blown out.
But it was definitely not how it looked. I don't think Tony Correnti meant that at all.
Thanks for providing that context, because
the big key here on that play is they did call taunting. They didn't call unsportsmanlike conduct, so they're obviously not talking about.
Oh, dude, that's gonna get.
I've already seen it posted everywhere on like every social media account talking about how bad the call was.
Oh, that's bad. Well, apparently the call was bad.
No, the call was terrible. It was not taunting at all.
Okay, that's different.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be people are gonna think he got called for the taunting because of that, and it's just not true. You can see in the video he reached for the flag first.
I see.
But yeah, bad calls both ways. Robert Quinn. I mean, can you coach somebody to line up off sides? Because I'm watching the game. I see Robert Quinn clearly pass the ball.
Yeah.
I saw 99 pass the ball, even on the Deontay Johnson first down. I don't know.
I mean, there's so many bad calls against the Bears. The Steelers were handed the game, and they almost lost it. And it just goes to show they're bad teams, find ways to lose. Steelers are also a bad team, and they probably should have found a way to lose. And they basically, God, I don't even know, man.
I mean,
it was just a hard game to watch.
Shout out because he did put up a game-winning drive, and it was a nice drive. Great throw to Allen Robinson. Nice throw, roll into his left.
Yeah, I will say that. Hey, dude, that was a great play by him.
Yeah, I agree. But that's all I have to say about the game. I think the Steelers probably are playoff contenders. I don't know if they make it. I still think they're the worst team in the division. They're still number 4 for me. And the Bears, I don't know. I think the Bears are done.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder what happens with Nagy. The Bears are just done, though. Fields is made some plays, but I just don't think he's good enough, right? And is there anything else to really talk about here? Both these teams don't really feel like threats. The Steelers have somehow won games, and if they keep winning games, we might have to revisit their viability. But yeah, why don't we just jump on to the power rankings, man? What are your thoughts? What are you feeling? How do we even rank these teams?
It's difficult. I'll explain my
Very
list.
difficult.
If you want me to start, I can go. I'm sure we'll have a different list. I'm sure. I'll start number 5. I got the Los Angeles Rams. I think while they have a great team, 2 losses that are just ugly. Matthew Stafford, I think, has been wildly overrated this year. He's got 6 picks on the year. I think he misses a lot of deep throws. Deshaun Jackson was a key loss that people aren't talking about. That guy
Yeah.
is dangerous moving downfield. I don't know. I think Jalen Ramsey just pisses me off too, so there's a little bias in there. Talking a lot to A.J. Brown this week. Obviously, it was a big story. Got the pick, though, on Ryan Tannehill.
He did.
A.J. Brown didn't seem interested in fighting. Good man. Jalen Ramsey, all he wants to do is scrap. But he's literally the son of DK Metcalf. I don't know. A little tangent there, but I think the Rams are number 5. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the division. And you'll see that I got the Cardinals at 4, right behind them. While this win was very impressive, and I've been pretty anti-Cardinals the whole year, Kyler Murray still is injured. And this team isn't going to go anywhere with Colt McCoy. Better teams are going to come in with better game plans.
Are we putting the Cardinals at 4 right now?
We are.
Oh, we're going to have to get into this a little bit.
I think the 3 teams I have above them are going to beat them next week, if they play next week. And that's what the power rankings are about. I do think this win is impressive. They're definitely on my better side. If Kyler comes back, I mean, they're probably my number 1 team. But right now,
he's coming back. He's coming back.
But how healthy he's going to be, and is he going to come back this week? Not sure yet. And right now, I don't know. I still take the 3 teams above him, even with the injured Kyler on the move. At number 3, I got to go for the Titans. Undeniable win. They keep finding good ways to win. They got star power on both sides of the ball. A guy that we didn't mention, but probably, I mean, he's having an underrated season, way better than Trayvon Diggs. Kevin Byard. Why isn't he in the deep boy conversation? He played phenomenal this whole year. Had the pick 6. He's looking great. They have some issues on defensive line, offensive line, but Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, when Julio Jones comes back, surely is going to be a positive. I do love myself some Ryan Tannehill. I think this is the worst year he's had as a Titan out of the 3 years. But he's still definitely, provides things offensively. He's an athletic quarterback. He's got a nice deep ball. I think when the team's healthy, it's going to be great. And I think right now I picked them over the Cardinals. Moving on to my number 2, I got the Bucs. Even though they're coming off the loss to the Saints, they're the Super Bowl champions. Tom Brady's been the best quarterback in the league for me at this point in the season. Their wide receiver room is unbelievable. I think Antonio Brown's healthy. This team is unstoppable. Gronk too. I mean, you should add another Renzo threat to an already insane Renzo threat that is Mike Evans. Playoff Lenny's my guy.
I mean, not much to say about the Bucs. Yeah,
I agree. I'll move on quickly. And my number 1 team is the coming off a loss. They're the 7-13 loss. I got the Green Bay Packers.
Wow.
I know. I had the Packers at 1.
You're gonna have the woke mob targeting you after this one, bro.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is coming back, and their defense played so well against the Chiefs. I just think their offense is so reliant on Aaron Rodgers that once he comes back, they'll be the best team in the league. That's my honest thought. And that does not mean, however, that I'm picking them over the Seahawks this week. I locked it down this morning once I saw Russell Wilson was in, plus 165, Seahawks money line.
I love that energy.
Right now, I picked them almost against any other team in the league. I just got to ride with my Hawks for this week.
All right. I don't have actually that many gripes with your top 5. I think again you're a hater of the Cardinals. Major disrespect. I mean, what more could Cliff Kingsbury do last week than what he did with Colt McCoy, no DeAndre Hopkins, no J.J. Watt, no A.J. Green? What more could he have done? They have the best record in the NFL, and you're seeing what I'm getting to. But let's start at number 5 for me. I also have the Rams. I think overall they just have too much talent on that roster. Their O-line had a rough game. Matt Stafford also had a rough game, but they're going to bounce back. They're going to be contending for the NFC Championship. It's really, things happen. People lose games. Look at the Buffalo Bills. So I'm keeping them in the top 5. Number 4, that's where it kind of gets interesting, right? Like, there's a bunch of different teams we could have at this spot. It's hard because teams that you want to put in there, like maybe the Cowboys, they lost. Bills, they lost. Right? Huh?
So you put them on there at 5, but yeah.
Oh no, the Bills. I didn't put them on there.
Oh, who was your 5?
The Rams.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the fourth team is a little tough here. I might have to go with. Dude, I don't even know. Like. Oh God. Okay, we're just gonna do it. I'm gonna put the Packers at 4. The Packers are at 4, and the reason I'm putting the Packers at 4 is because, you know, they have a lot of injuries. They're still missing Jair Alexander. They're still missing David Bakhtiari, who might be coming back soon. We'll see. But Zadarius Smith is out. They played well against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs have been bad. I'm putting them at 4 right now because I'm anticipating they could trip up next week against the Seahawks. In which case, I'm predicting a drop to 4. And yeah, I think the other teams have been more impressive. They've lost again, so moving on, we have the Bucks at 3. Bucks won by not playing this past week. All the teams around them seem to stumble, except obviously the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm putting the Bucks in at 3. Overall, when healthy, I think they might have the best roster in the league, and it starts with Tom Brady at quarterback, currently MVP. Not much to say about it. I know they stumbled against the Bucks, or the Saints, but you know that happens. Number 2, we got the Tennessee Titans, baby. It's finally time to show some respect. I know we didn't have BDLD last week. I had the Titans on. Did you have the Titans on in your top 5?
Oh no, I think I had them at 5. I think I had them at 5.
I'm gonna double check that.
I was surprised.
Yeah, you had them at 5. I had them at 3. And you know, it's just like you can't write them off. You can't write off wins in the NFL, right? Like when you beat these many good teams, there's something there. There's something that's you gotta hang your hat on. So I'm giving it to the Titans, man. They fought. They've been through some battles and they've won every one. That's just not luck. It's just not luck. So they're number 2, and Cardinals are my number 1 team in the NFL. They've been on top of the power rankings a few times this year, and again, like this year, there's no dominant team. So the Cardinals have been the most dominant. And, you know, they tripped up against the Packers in a game they win if AJ Green turns around. So we could be looking at, a 9-0 team right now. They dominated without Kyler Murray, blah, blah, blah. We've already talked about it. I don't know how they aren't the number 1 team. You know, given the way teams have been shaped up this year, I think the Cardinals at least a pick 'em against any team, and obviously favored against most, right? Like, just sleeping on them feels foolish. So that's it. You have any disagreements with that, or how do you feel about those power rankings?
I don't know.
Are we sleeping on anyone?
Shout out the Seahawks.
God, this is just a Seahawks episode already.
It is because I'm in love with the Seahawks. I can't wait. I'm so excited for Russell Wilson to come back. The Seahawks win next week against my number 1 team, the Packers. I will be putting my Seahawks in my top 5. Guarantee, mark it down, because if they beat the Packers, they can beat anybody in the league. And we're not doing power rankings on your history, your past. It's how you are in the present. That's why the Cardinals are 4. Next week, mark it down. Seahawks are going to be in the top 5 after they beat the Packers next week.
God, I don't know if we can put them in the top 5.
I will put them in the top 5.
How about this? If the Seahawks beat the Cardinals and the Packers, I would consider putting them in the top 5.
Number 1.
All right, so now we're sleeping on the Titans again?
Oh, I've been sleeping on the Titans since I was born.
You know who else the Titans have beat?
The Seahawks. You're right. On a fluky
with Russell Wilson.
Win 9 out of 10s.
Yeah, I guess it's a little fluky, but also I felt like it was kind of fluky in the Seahawks' favor. And they lost.
Well, you know, you can talk about the freaking roughing the passer and Al Woods play. I mean, we would have been the 5-3 Saints. You talk about the freaking.
All right. Let's not get into it.
Talk about the Seahawks injury against the Rams, another top 5 team. Russell Wilson goes down a half. Yeah, I'm a Seahawks homer for life. I'm feeling like a biased fan. Go Hawks. I'm ready to end this show.
All right,
Catch us
let's do it.
on Insta. Follow us on his
Follow us on
BDLD,
Instagram, BDLD.
Twitter,
Get
Big Dog,
hey,
Little Dog.
tune in Thursday. The responsible bet
Yaka Kid,
at Trust Dog.
Trust Dog, and at Tross. So get us on the socials. Spread the word. Best podcast of all time. Go Hawks. I'll see you boys next week.